We asked an advanced AI to design the ultimate billionaire transport. No budget, no factory constraints, no rules. And the result is a terrifyingly beautiful superyacht motorhome hybrid that genuinely stopped me when I first saw it. This is not a real vehicle. Let me be clear about that up front. What you are looking at is a fictional concept generated entirely by AI. No manufacturer, no price tag, no delivery date. Just a vision. But the ideas embedded in this design, those are very real and very worth unpacking. Because when you remove real-world constraints, you see what design actually wants to become. What you are looking at calls itself the Exodus Mobilis. 8 wheels, matte black armor plating, gold accent lighting that runs the full length of this thing like a pulse, and a design thesis that sits somewhere between a 100-foot superyacht and something that rolled out of a classified military program. Here is what we are covering today. We are starting with how this concept came to exist and what it signals about where billionaire travel is heading in 2026. Then we are going inside, and I am going to tell you about a smart systems detail in this interior that I genuinely have not seen in any other concept at this level. Then we are breaking down the engineering logic that would actually make something like this move. And then I am giving you my honest verdict, including whether this is the most expensive vehicle concept ever conceived by an algorithm. Let us get into it. The shift happening right now. There is something genuinely interesting happening at the very top of the luxury market in 2026, and it explains exactly why a concept like the Exodus Mobilis exists. The ultra-wealthy are done with static assets. The second mansion sits empty 10 months a year. The third yacht requires a full crew to be useful, and a private jet gets you there, but it does not create the environment you actually want to live in while you travel. What the top 0.1% are moving toward instead is what analysts are starting to call high-mobility luxury estates, vehicles and vessels that bring the full environment with them, to any location on Earth, on demand. The global luxury motorhome market just crossed $96 billion in 2026. That is not RV enthusiasts driving to national parks. That is a fundamental rethinking of what a luxury asset looks like when it can move. The shift happening right now. There is something genuinely interesting happening at the very top of the luxury market in 2026, and it explains exactly why a concept like the Exodus Mobilis exists. The ultra-wealthy are done with static assets. The second mansion sits empty 10 months a year. The third yacht requires a full crew to be useful, and a private jet gets you there, but it does not create the environment you actually want to live in while you travel. What the top 0.1% are moving toward instead is what analysts are starting to call high-mobility luxury estates, vehicles and vessels that bring the full environment with them, to any location on Earth, on demand. The global luxury motorhome market just crossed $96 billion in 2026. That is not RV enthusiasts driving to national parks. That is a fundamental rethinking of what a luxury asset looks like when it can move. What AI changes about this conversation? The Exodus Mobilis is an AI-generated concept, and that matters for more than a disclaimer. What AI does in the design process is remove the negotiation. Every production vehicle is a series of compromises between cost, regulation, manufacturing capability, and market positioning. An AI-generated concept has none of those conversations. It just answers the question, if you could build anything, what would the most resolved version of this idea look like? The answer, apparently, is this. And the design philosophy embedded here merges two specific worlds: hydrodynamic hull thinking from superyacht design and heavy-duty land chassis engineering from military and expedition vehicle development. Those two languages have never been combined at this scale before. The result is a vehicle that does not fit any existing category, which is exactly why it is worth analyzing. The carbon fiber exoskeleton logic. Look at the paneling on this concept carefully. The angular, faceted surfaces are not purely aesthetic. The designer has applied hydrodynamic thinking, The same principle that shapes a yacht hull to manage water pressure at speed, to the exterior body to manage airflow and thermal load at road speed. In a real engineering scenario, a carbon fiber exoskeleton at this scale would serve three functions simultaneously. It reduces overall mass relative to steel by a significant margin, which matters when your vehicle weighs north of 18,000 kilograms before interior fit-out. It provides structural rigidity across a long wheelbase platform that would otherwise flex under off-road load. And it gives the surface finish properties, that deep matte black, that light-absorbing texture, that would be impossible to achieve at this quality level in conventional pressed steel. That is not styling. That is integrated engineering thinking. And it is the reason this concept holds up under analysis rather than falling apart. The pressurized panoramic glass bedroom. Let us talk about the sleeping quarters, because this is where the superyacht influence becomes most explicit and most interesting. Imagine waking up in a space where the wall in front of you is entirely glass. Not a window, a wall. Floor to ceiling, side to side, pressurized and optically clear, giving you an unobstructed view of wherever this vehicle has parked overnight. If you are on a mountain, you wake up inside the mountain. If you are on a coastline, the coastline is your bedroom wall. The design suggests a 360-degree panoramic glass system in the sleeping zone, a concept borrowed directly from superyacht master cabin design, where the waterline view is considered part of the living experience rather than a feature of it. The difference here is that you are not on water. You are anywhere. Whatever terrain the Exodus Mobilis can reach, and with an 8x8 drivetrain, that is a genuinely extraordinary range of terrain, becomes the backdrop to your bedroom. That is not a specification. That is a complete rethinking of what it means to sleep in a vehicle. The Neuralink interface, the detail I was not expecting. Now here is the smart systems detail I mentioned in the hook. And this is the one that genuinely surprised me when I dug into what the design is proposing. The Exodus Mobilis concept integrates what the design brief describes as a Neuralink interior management interface. This is not a touchscreen panel or a voice assistant. This is a biometric responsive environment, a system that reads the occupant's physiological data in real time and adjusts the interior climate, lighting temperature, ambient scent, and acoustic environment accordingly. You are tired. The system reads that in your heart rate variability and the ambient lighting shifts, not because you told it to, but because it already knows. The room temperature drops 2 degrees. The acoustic panels absorb more external sound. The sense system introduces something that the research says supports sleep onset. Now, is this technology fully production-ready today? No, but the components exist. Biometric monitoring at this level of sophistication is already in premium wellness technology. Responsive climate and lighting are already in luxury residential builds. The AI integration to connect them intelligently is the step that is still being resolved. This concept is proposing that environment in 2026, which puts it about 3 to 5 years ahead of what is currently deployable at a consumer level. That is what makes it worth talking about. Self-leveling furniture, the engineering problem nobody discusses. There is an engineering challenge that comes with any vehicle designed for extreme terrain that most luxury motorhome concepts completely ignore: level surfaces. On a 15-degree slope, which is a relatively modest off-road gradient, an unsecured interior becomes genuinely uncomfortable. Objects slide. Sleeping feels wrong. Cooking is a safety issue. The conventional solution is outrigger leveling jacks that stabilize the vehicle at a campsite. But that means you are static. You cannot be moving and level simultaneously. The Exodus Mobilis concept proposes self-leveling furniture, surfaces, and sleeping platforms that maintain horizontal orientation independently of the vehicle's pitch and roll. The technology exists in marine applications. Superyacht furniture systems have used gyroscopic stabilization for years. Translating that to a land vehicle at this scale is a genuine engineering challenge, but the concept is sound. And if you have ever tried to eat a meal on a boat in moderate swell, you understand immediately why this matters. It means the Exodus Mobilis is not just a vehicle that goes anywhere. It is a vehicle where the interior experience remains constant regardless of where it is going. That is a fundamentally different proposition. Hydrogen electric propulsion, why this makes sense right now. If this concept were ever engineered for reality, the powertrain would need to solve a specific problem that pure battery electric cannot currently solve at this scale: weight versus range. A battery pack large enough to move 18,000 plus kilograms across off-road terrain with a meaningful range would itself weigh several tons. A circular engineering problem where the solution makes the problem worse. Hydrogen electric resolves that. The fuel cell generates electricity on demand from compressed hydrogen, which is stored at high density in frame-integrated tanks. The energy-to-weight ratio is substantially better than lithium chemistry at this scale. And this is not purely theoretical anymore. In November 2025, Toyota's racing division unveiled a working hydrogen fuel cell Ovalander at SEMA, a vehicle that emits nothing but water vapor, refuels in minutes rather than hours, and can supply external power to other vehicles in the field. The engineering logic is resolved. The production infrastructure is not there yet, but the technology works. For a concept at the Exodus Mobilis scale, you would be looking at a dual fuel cell stack, one serving each axle group, paired with a buffer battery for peak torque demand. The 8x8 drivetrain would be fully electric at the wheel, with individual motor control per axle. What that means in practice is terrain management capability that no diesel hydraulic system can match. Each wheel responds independently. You are not fighting the terrain. You are reading it. Retractable hydrofoil logic and the tread system. The concept proposes retractable hydrofoil fins for water surface capability and a conversion to reinforced off-road configuration on land. I want to be honest with you about this. As a pure engineering proposition, the dual waterland drivetrain at this scale is the most speculative element of the entire concept. The mechanical complexity of a reliable transition between hydrofoil mode and 8x8 off-road tread configuration is significant. But here is what this design decision is actually communicating. Even if the execution is conceptual, the intended user does not accept boundaries between terrain types. The vehicle should go where the owner decides to go, full stop. Whether the engineering to achieve that literally is possible in this form is a separate question from what the design intent is saying. And what it is saying is that no geography is off limits. Autonomous navigation and the AI route system. The concept includes an autonomous navigation system trained on global satellite imagery, a system that can identify viable routes across surfaces where no road or dock exists. Level 3 highway autonomy is already deployable in major markets. What this concept is proposing goes further: predictive terrain pathfinding for off-road environments using real-time satellite and sensor fusion. In practice, that means the vehicle can identify a route through a landscape it has never physically encountered before, based on topographic data, surface density analysis, and historical imagery. For the owner, it means the question is not can we get there? It is where do you want to go today? The expandable deck, beach club, or helipad. This is the feature that will generate the most comments on this video, so I want to spend proper time on it. The Exodus Mobilis concept proposes an expandable exterior deck that unfolds from the rear of the vehicle to create what the design brief describes as a 50-foot beach club, a full outdoor entertaining platform that deploys at the destination and retracts for travel. At this scale, the same platform can be configured as a private helipad for urban arrival and departure. Think about what that means for a moment. You drive this vehicle to a remote coastline. You deploy the rear deck. You now have an outdoor terrace that extends your living space by the equivalent of a full floor of a house, cantilevered over whatever landscape you have parked on. The vehicle has not just arrived somewhere. It has created a venue. That distinction, between a vehicle that arrives and a vehicle that creates an environment, is the entire design argument of the Exodus Mobilis. And the expandable deck is where that argument becomes most visible. The Michelin star kitchen robotics. The interior kitchen system in this concept is designed around a principle you do not see in any production motorhome. 0 human staff required. Full robotic appliance integration, capable of preparing any world-class dish to Michelin star specification without a chef on board. The technology to do this exists in fixed installations. High-end restaurant automation is already being deployed in premium hospitality. The challenge at this scale is motion compensation and the ingredient management system. Cooking on a vehicle that is moving across rough terrain requires a kitchen that can compensate for exactly the kind of pitch and roll that the self-leveling furniture system addresses in the living quarters. These two systems, the kitchen robotics and the self-leveling surfaces, are not independent features. They are part of a coherent design philosophy that says the quality of the experience should not vary based on where the vehicle is or what surface it is crossing. Stealth mode, the feature nobody expected. The concept includes what it describes as a localized stealth mode, active camouflage combined with a near-silent motor configuration for privacy in public or high-visibility environments. The acoustic signature of a hydrogen-electric drivetrain at low speed is already minimal compared to diesel. The active camouflage element is the more speculative piece, adaptive surface technology that modulates the vehicle's visual signature. As a pure engineering proposition, this is the furthest from current production capability of anything in this concept. But as a design statement about the intended user, it is precise. The ultra-wealthy do not want to be seen. They want to arrive invisibly, deploy their environment, and exist in it without the observation that conventional luxury signals attract. Stealth mode is not a feature. It is a positioning statement. What it does genuinely well. The design coherence is remarkable. Every decision in this concept points in the same direction. The carbon fiber paneling, the 8x8 stance, the matte finish, the Neuralink systems, the expandable deck. This is not a collection of impressive features. It is a design argument, and every element of the argument is consistent. That level of internal logic in an AI-generated concept is genuinely unusual, and it is the reason this held up across 17 minutes of analysis. What is impractical? The honest take. The acquisition and exclusivity model this concept implies has a fundamental problem. A vehicle that requires a rigorous vetting process to own, a dedicated global logistics network to operate, and permits to legally transit most road systems is not a vehicle. It is a project. And at the ultra-wealthy level, the people this is designed for do not manage projects. They have people who manage projects. The question the Exodus Mobilis does not answer is, what does ownership actually feel like day to day? Impressive engineering and impressive complexity are not the same thing as impressive living. The most resolved luxury products remove friction. Several elements of this concept added. The most impressive detail. The Neuralink biometric interior. Not because the technology is the most advanced thing here. It is not. But because it is the detail that demonstrates the designer understood the actual problem. The problem with luxury vehicles is not that they lack features. It is that the features require the occupant to operate them. A system that reads your biology and adjusts the environment before you consciously register the need is a fundamentally different relationship between person and space. That is the most sophisticated idea in this entire concept, and it is easy to miss if you are focused on the 8 wheels and the expandable deck. The one thing I would change. The stealth mode and the beach club deck are in direct tension with each other. You cannot simultaneously deploy a 50-foot entertainment platform and maintain a low-visibility profile. The concept does not resolve that contradiction. I would either commit to the social spectacle, lean fully into the idea of this vehicle as an arrival event, or commit to the private sanctuary. Right now it is trying to be both, and the best luxury products never try to be both. What it signals about the future of luxury mobility. We are watching a category form in real time. The ultra-luxury market has exhausted the static asset conversation. The Exodus Mobilis is a design argument for a completely different model. Not where you own, but how you move. Not the destination, but the environment you carry with you. That idea is going to produce real vehicles within the next decade. Some of the technology in this concept is already in production in adjacent industries. The question is not if, it is who gets there first. It is a concept. It is fictional. It is AI-generated. And it is still one of the most complete design arguments for where luxury mobility is heading that I have analyzed on this channel. Now, one question. The stealth mode versus the beach club deck. Which one would you actually use? Drop it in the comments. I want to see where people land on this one. If this kind of analysis is what you come to YouTube for, subscribing is simply the most efficient way to not miss the next one.